Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. Let's go discover the Pantanal, Brazil's wild wet. Presented by NatHab's Guide Development Director and Expedition Leader, Annie Van Denther. And today she's joined by one of our Brazilian expedition leaders, Helder. Thank you so much for being with us today, everyone. I'm going to hand it off to you, Annie.
Thank you, Kendall. We sure do appreciate all the effort and hard work you put into putting all of this together. We know that it takes a lot. I am presenting today from snowy Alaska, where I think it is still warmer than many of the places in the lower 48. So hope you're staying warm while we speak to you today about Brazil, where it is definitely warmer than where most of the United States is today. And for those of you out of the United States, we're super happy that you're joining us. Helder, I could not be more thrilled that you have joined us today. I cannot wait to learn about the Pantanal from you. I have been wanting to learn about this area for quite some time. This whole series came about because I've been sitting in Alaska now for longer than I have in all the years that I have lived here, I think. Maybe when I was pregnant with one of my kids, I stayed put for this long, but I don't even think then I stayed in one spot for this amount of time. And I got to thinking, let's go. I want to go to the places that I have to see. And I have never been to Brazil. I've never been to the Amazon. We'll get to how close those places are. And I've certainly never been to the Pantanal. So Helder, tell us about this place and tell us what makes you the expert here with us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, good afternoon from Brazil. I'm Helder, looking forward to a good presentation. So the idea is not really to lecture about the Pantanal, but just to show some wildlife experiences in the Pantanal. So let's make this easy. Let's make this a campfire session, and let's connect people to inspire people to travel. So let's focus on wildlife. Well, a quick background. I have to. There's a noise outside there. I have to close the window. 1 second.
While he's doing that, I'll let you know that Pantanal is a word that I've been interested in for quite some time. And I think it was about 10 years ago that it started to sort of show up in the guiding world. So I can't wait for us to learn about that. Keep going, Helder.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. So just as I said, just a quick background. I was born in the big concrete jungle of São Paulo, so far away from the wild. So one may think it's a city boy, but not really. I had a dog, and I could handle myself with a hammer. So, well, jokes aside, my parents introduced me in a very simple way to the wildlife world, just watching nature TV shows and traveling. So after I got that curly hair in the photo there into gray hair, I got a love for nature, and I went to university. I graduated from University of São Paulo as a biologist. Yeah.
So you were born in the Pantanal. This is a picture from a different area. Is that correct?
Yeah. But love is in the family. But well, I was a bad influence to my brother and sister because they also became biologists. So maybe it was the first time that 3 brothers went to the university and to the same course, right? Well, I arrived in the Pantanal in 2006, thinking I would spend 6 months there and live, but I fell in love, and that's a photo of Cayman Lodge. It's a beautiful picture of the wet season, and well, it was my first contact with wildlife guiding, so it was love at first sight. Later, I became the head guide there and the environmental manager. I spent 10 years following the cycles of the Pantanal, working with naturalists and bird watchers and traveling through, South America. Yeah.
Well, that looks really cool. It seems like you've done quite a bit of different projects. Let's learn about a few more of them.
Oh yeah, I got in contact with 2 projects, Hyacinth Macaw and the blue-fronted parrot. But I had the opportunity to work with the On Safari, which is association to work for Jaguar conservation. and it was quite interesting. Quite interesting. I was just helping in the beginning of the project. We were planning everything, setting camera traps, capturing jaguars. So I was learning a lot from Mario Huberfeld, the founder of the project, and from Joaris May, which is in the picture there, which is a vet. It was responsible for the capturing and the study. So it was quite fun to do that.
This looks a little bit dangerous, my friend. I'm very glad to know it's a conservation project, because otherwise I'd be a little concerned for your safety, but it definitely looks like it's very interesting work. That's for sure. Tell us some more.
Yeah, well, they are quite professional now. I didn't know too much about it, about jaguars, or too much about habituation, but they are quite professional now. Well, then in 2016, later, I started to work as a guide for NetHab. So amazing opportunities guiding in the Pantanal and guiding in Patagonia between Argentina and Chile. And as you can see, I try to work hard for our clients' experiences.
I think that this is the year that I got to meet you in Boulder, if I remember correctly. And even before then, as I mentioned at the beginning, I was starting to hear about this place, the Pantanal. I've worked with NatHab since 1999. And, you know, back then, of course, we were hearing about the Amazon and how critically important, you know, saving the Amazon was and is. But then somewhere along the line, I started to hear about the Pantanal, and I started thinking, what is this place? Because it was always sort of attached to the Pantanal. They kind of came hand in hand. And I have to admit, I at first was like, are they the same place? Is it like, you know, one and the same? And I think a lot of our clients might also be confused about that. So could you clear up for us exactly where the Pantanal is related to the Amazon, and sort of the difference when we're speaking about those two ecological regions?
Sure. Well, that map shows exactly where Amazon is. So this is South America map, part of it. And then the green color there, beautiful green, is the Amazon. Pantanal is in the south of it. So first, Pantanal is not part of the Amazon. It's also a biome, right? Amazon one and Pantanal is other. So you can see the light green color is the Pantanal. Well, it is not a jungle as well. It's not a jungle. It presents some natural features of a savanna, and is also similar to Botswana. Who has been there can make that kind of a link. 2/3 are in Brazil, and the rest is in Bolivia and Paraguay. So, and also about the name, right? Pantanal. Well, in Brazil, the official language is Portuguese. It comes after a Portuguese word called pântano, that means swamp. And also, early Spanish explorer named it inland sea. But Pantanal is neither, not a swamp, not an inland sea. It's an inland delta, right? Well, so the name is not the best describer, and because it presents two well-established seasons, the dry and the wet season. Where the dry is a lack of water, of course, and lack of rain. There's a lot of mammals walking around, so this is why it's quite good. And then the wet season, which is full of water in many places. So it's a beautiful, of course, between those, the water rises and the water recedes, also considered another seasons. So yeah, so this is the world's largest freshwater wetland. So that's important. Yeah, beautiful picture there of the Pantanal. I mean, is 10 times the size of the Everglades and 15 times the size of Okavango Delta in Botswana, right? So it's or the better for you, the size of Utah State. So yeah, it's a fantastic diversity of habitats like grasslands and savannas and forest savannas, gallery forests. So it's a first-class wildlife viewing destination. I will repeat, it's a first-class wildlife viewing destination. I mean, one may say it's the top wildlife area outside of Africa in bird watchers Mecca. So in one 10-day trip, we would see maybe 130, 150 species of birds, and we're not birding, and like 20 species of mammals. I know you love mammals, so that is good. And most recently, some specific areas became reliable for sighting jaguars. The biome is 95% private owned. Most cattle ranches with a very rich culture of indigenous people and cowboys and riverside traditional community. So yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, it sounds to me like there's maybe a little bit of competition going on here with, you know, the Everglades, the Botswana Delta. We've got some really phenomenal wetland tundras and bogs here in Alaska. I'm thinking we need to get a group going. You know, we can get some clients and we need to do some comparative trips here where we first go to, you know, the Pantanal, and then we go to the Everglades, and then we've got a trip going to the Everglades soon. We go over to Botswana and we check that out. Then we can really answer this question of which wetlands is actually the best. I think that would probably be the best approach, Helder. You think that would be a trip you'd be interested in going on with me?
I'm there. Where I sign?
Okay, there you go. All right, we've got it. We've got it planned. Sounds like a good plan. All right, tell me more about this place because I'm getting incredibly intrigued.
Well, next picture, the most important maybe. Almost 85% of the Pantanal is conserved. So this is the most conserved biome of Brazil, even more than Amazon. So that's important. The area there inside the white line is the Pantanal. The green color means conserved, and the yellow means human changing. So outside of that white line is the opposite. So it's the uplands, where it's just 40% is conserved. So which is a threat to the Pantanal because that area holds all the springs of the rivers that bring all the water to the Pantanal. So yeah.
All right. Well, and it's credible. I mean, wetlands are so incredibly important as carbon sinks and, of course, as holders of the water, but also for species, they're really critically important. So it's great to see that so much of this large wetland is in fact intact. Now, I think we're at the point where I can say when I come visit, not if. When I come to visit this area, someday I'm going to get to bring my kids on one of these trips. Let's say I'm going to bring my kids. What is the first thing that you are going to want to show me, and whether it be my kids or a group of guests that I get to bring with? What do you want to show us first? I know as a guide, I always have this thing that I'm like, oh, I cannot wait for our guests to see this. What is it for you?
I will do for you my favorite thing. So
yes.
That, well, first in the picture there, this is my wife, so that's my favorite thing in the Pantanal. Just kidding. Even though it's my wife, my best moment, my preferred moment in the Pantanal is walking with a giant anteater. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, it's an outstanding animal. I was in a day off there, just walking and relaxing, enjoying nature. We found this animal, and it's a beautiful guy, and nothing in the world looks like it, right? It's a unique, and it belongs to a unique group as well, shared with sloths. So imagine the animals of this group. It's all about hair, right? It's this great thick hair coat. Is a great insulation. But also protection against some preys of the animal, like ants and termites. Because when the anteater goes through and breaks the nest of these insects, it is attacked by hundreds of them, and is a great protection. So usually the animal sets his huge 3 feet long tongue into the nest and gets some insects with this sticky saliva. So it's, I love to do that in a day off, but I love to do that, of course, with our travelers. So the next photo shows that. we can get pretty close to them, and it's just amazing. So I mean, you can hear its breathing, and believe me, when we get that close, you can actually hear that they sound very strange sound, like a vacuum cleaner. I mean, it's crazy. So, but you need to know how to do this, how to get close. So I love to do that with our clients. I just guide them in a few tips about that, and then we move the group on. And so we need to go slowly and patient, silent. So, and against the wind, actually, because their hearing is not that good, but the sense of smell is great. So then we go slowly and get this kind of a shot. And well, and also sometimes some rare moments, like in the next slide, we can get like that, like babies, right? So I mean, the female carries the babies on her back for up to 8 or 9 months, and when the baby is old enough, he will go on its own, get some food, and return to ride mom's back. So it's just a big animal. Actually, it's around 100 pounds and 7 feet long. So pretty big. Presents a low metabolism, like a 91 Fahrenheit. Humans are 98. And huge tail, huge neck. Actually, he has 9 vertebrae on its neck, which is 2 more than other mammals, right? And because of its extra vertebrae in the lumbar, they are able to stand up in their back feet using the tail as a tripod and actually stand up. And he will open his front legs and wait to give you a big hug with a big 3 claws in each hand. I mean, it's huge. One strategy to defend themselves, right? So yeah, I love these guys.
I can see why you love them. I'm kind of wondering if humans domesticated the wrong animal when we went for the dog. I mean, it seems to me like we've got this incredibly cute animal that can act as a vacuum cleaner and is quite snuggly. So I'm not quite sure if we went the right direction with the dog, because I'm thinking a vacuum cleaner would be really nice at my house right now. But that's a whole different subject. These guys are adorable, and of course I don't think we should domesticate them, because oh my gosh, look how incredibly cute this wild animal is. I'm just like, I'm in love with this photo. I think not all the animals that me and the guests I get to take to the Pantanal are going to be so cute. What do you have to show us next?
Yeah, well, the next wildlife, it's not that cute, but it's iconic, right? It's incredible. So this is the cayman, maybe the most iconic animal, the Paraguayan cayman. This is the species. So thousands and thousands of these gator and croc related. There's an estimation of 10 million caimans in the Pantanal, the world's largest concentration of crocodilians, right? We can find ponds full of them or islands such as this one. This picture was taken in a dry season, and they fight for scarce food, and they bite each other, so it's quite tough for them. But they have an interesting strategy, like a hunting strategy, right? So the next photo will show that. So they sit and wait. Yeah, it's unusual, it's strange, but usually in shallow waters, they gather against the current and with their open mouth, just waiting for the fish come, and having no space for the fish actually when they pass through. So it's and it's unique, right? No other species of crocodilians does that, as far as I know.
It looks like bears and or men and women lined up on the river banks in Alaska. I mean, seriously, like this is how you fish, right? This is a very typical fishing technique for brown bears, black bears, fishing men and women in along the coast, right? You head to the shallows and you line up. So that looks like a very interesting technique. A lot of people, when it comes to these animals, alligators, crocs, caiman, they talk about them as a living fossil. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I already heard some people say that, but they're not really. Yeah, because this would mean unchanged forms, which they're not. They are modern animals, right? So yeah, they have rugged bodies and incredible strength, supreme predators they are. But caimans lead a very intricate social lives, So they have keen senses. They communicate with sounds and body postures, and make interesting courtship rituals, which leads us to the next picture there. On this courtship, I would say like a water dance. Well, they use the vocalization for marking territory, but also for movement. So they roar 2 or 3 times, and each roar is preceded by an infrasound. Yeah, so below the range of human hearing, but can carry great distance in water, so it's quite useful. And well, much is to be known yet, but a study pointed that the water dance there, that you can see in the picture there, is not a consequence of the infrasound, but is an evolutionary component of the roaring display. So it's quite important. Yeah.
It's fascinating. When I look at their body shape, I just end up with so many questions. When you and I were preparing for this, it reminds me of the stickleback, the fish that we know about that the polar bears like to eat, and I have questions about their vertebrae. So I must say, for a mammal lover, I do end up with a lot of questions, even about the caiman here. So they look very interesting. Tell us more about them.
Well, it's a big animal, right? It's 10 foot long, so quite good. And usually people have a hard time to distinguish the crocodilians, the crocs, right? The crocodiles, the alligators, and the caimans. And sometimes it's hard. Yes, but I brought here just a simple way to do that. So next picture will start to do that. But people usually use the shape of the snout to distinguish them, but it's not really reliable. I mean, alligators and caimans usually have a U-shaped snout, and crocodilians have, crocodiles have V-shaped snout. As I said, not too much reliable. You need to go for teeth. So next slide will tell you. Below that, you have a crocodile. So the crocodile has an interlocking bite, which means they with a closed mouth, you can see all teeth, upper jaw teeth and lower jaw too, right? Up there, you see alligator, and that's also useful for caimans, right? Both of them, they have an overbite, which means with an open mouth, you will see just the upper jaw teeth. So that's the best way to distinguish crocodiles from alligators and caimans. And then when you pass to caimans, this is a picture of a caiman. It's hard to distinguish caimans from alligators. You really have to know the species. There is not really one feature. 100% will tell you it's an alligator or a caiman. But if we could say something, the back of the caiman has composite bony deposits. So it's so hard, it's almost like bone. And alligators don't have that. They have a single bony deposit. So it's a little bit more soft, but even though it's tricky. So better to know each species, right?
Yeah. It seems like you'd have to get a little bit too close for comfort to tell if it's soft or not.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I can tell you, I will not be getting that close to a caiman or an alligator. I promise you that.
Yeah, and I mean, caimans are so important here. I mean, they are very important for studies. I mean, usually most books of geoscience or bioscience use the dinosaurs to teach fossilization or to teach paleontological heritage or geological history of life. But here in Brazil, we have a different group of reptiles to do that, which is the crocodilomorphs, that holds living species and fossil species. And the Brazil record of that, the diversity, is high, like 50 fossil species. So like 3 times the dinosaur record. So that's very important, you know. So well, come to see the caimans. They are important here.
Sounds very, very interesting, and I'm glad to have survived that that little visit to the Cayman area of Brazil. But there's other really iconic animals in the Pantanal. So tell us what this next one is, because I really think it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean the other one here, the next one will be the hyacinth macaw, the blue macaw. Yeah, this is the world's largest. 30 feet long, so quite big. It's a threatened species, considered vulnerable. And in the trip, we were able to experience them in so many ways. I mean, flying, gathering on the ground, eating, or just playing with each other. So it's really nice. The couples are partners for life, and young ones would make a group. So the potential to have different experiences with them is outstanding. And also opportunities for pictures, right? So next slide will be about that. We are able to get this kind of amazing sunsets in the Pantanal, especially in the dry season. And you can see even the picture there, like a box nest, right? Like in the middle there. This was created by the Hyacinth Macaw Project, which is one of the initiatives that they do to help the species, and they are quite successful. And especially that picture was taken in a special place where dozens of macaws and hundreds of parrots gather in palm trees and mango trees and to roost for the night. So I mean, it's just incredible chances to get that kind of a picture, right?
It's so beautiful, and it does kind of, I think, lead us to ask this question: what makes us decide that an animal is iconic? You know, that's a big word, right? And there's more than just, there's the caiman, there's the macaw. What else do you have that's iconic, and what makes us say this one is iconic?
Well, the next one will be size too. Let's show here. This is the world's largest stork. So Jabiru stork. So over 5 feet tall. So it's quite tall, and 10 feet of wingspan. I mean, it's looking like an angel there. And with that, it can fly really high. You know, so it's just outstanding to see it. One or a group. Sometimes you can see a group of that. So 30 of those. So it's beautiful. Well, our trips take place in a dry season. So also the breeding season for that bird. And so sometimes we can get a chance to see them carry nest material to the nest, or the next one would be the real nest. So it's just amazing. I mean, the nests are huge, almost like a jacuzzi size. Imagine a jacuzzi on a tree. It's always in big trees, tall trees, right? And maybe another reason why it's iconic is the sable bird of the Pantanal.
Now, these guys are so beautiful. And speaking of size, you have another incredibly large, iconic animal. And if anyone has seen the movie Princess Bride, you know about the ROUSs, the rodents of unusual size. And you actually have rodents of unusual size in the Pantanal. So tell us about these. And you're going to have to teach me how to say the name, and you're going to have to teach me how to say it very, very slowly.
All right, I'll say fast and then slowly. So,
okay.
Capybara.
Okay, you're going to have to say it slowly now.
Capybara.
Capybara.
Great. That's it. That's it.
Okay. I'm on my way.
So yeah, this is the world's largest rodent, yeah, and it's just amazing, related to cavies and guinea pigs, kind of. So they can weigh up to 150 pounds, right? And they are really good swimmers, really good divers as well. This is a good way to escape predators like jaguars. And they live a very social, really rich social life. Family groups gathering up to 50 individuals, yeah? And so rich that they present shared parental care. So different females will nurse same babies, like an evolutionary strategy to offspring survival. Yeah.
Wow. They are so cute. They don't look anything like the ROUSs from the movie because those guys are really scary. And these are so adorable. And it's incredible to hear that they actually share nursing. I mean, that's an advanced strategy for sure. Do they have a matriarchal group or is it a patriarchal group?
Usually it's one alpha male for the group. Yeah. So
Wow.
he sets the rules. Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah. You can get
so
pretty close.
adorable.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us about another animal that you have there.
All right. Well, again, 1 second. There's one noise here. I will just come
Okay.
back here. 1 second.
Okay. You know, one of the things that I find so interesting about these large rodents is, of course, looking at them and thinking like, what are they related to and where did they come from? So if I do get a chance to go to the Pantanal, that is one of the things I'm going to be learning about when I go there is more about the capybara. Did I say it correctly? Okay.
Perfect.
And wanting to understand, yeah, the evolutionary history and more about where they came from. So, but let's see what else you've got going on in that area.
Yeah, well, the last one, like maybe iconic animal, also it's a giant one. This is the giant river otter. Yeah, so also world's largest. Yeah, so 100 pounds, big guy, like 6 foot long. So it's endangered by IUCN and considered vulnerable by the Brazil Environmental Agency, especially due to skin hunt in the 40s and to the 70s. Today, there's another few threats like deforestation and dams or pollution, hunting. But giant river otters are endemic to South America. Yeah. And in the other hand, the otters are not. The otters are originally, sorry, from North America. Yeah. And they evolved 30 million years ago and then colonized here around 5 million years ago. So, and then they lost most of their territory. They were present in almost all rivers in South America, so it was quite hard. But here we got a big population, kind of a big population, and they are incredible to watch. They are very social animals. I mean, a family group, usually one couple, and its offspring, like can be up to 10. So it's a nice size group. They are constantly in touch with one another and using kind of a 15 types of vocalization. So like each vocalization, there's a purpose for that. So like a grunt call would be alarm for the family, or a screeching call would be territorial. So I mean, it's amazing to see them like hunting and fishing. Well, mostly they eat fish, but they eat other animals like snails and crabs, but mostly fish. And to see the hunting, the fishing, and they help each other. They hunt in packs, trapping fish in the riverbank. So it's amazing to see them. Amazing.
Now, when we were preparing for this, you told me that your wife was raised in the Pantanal area and that she would swim happily with caimans in the water.
Yeah.
Would she swim happily with river otters in the water?
Not really, not really. I mean, I would say this is the only animal that you need to be very careful if you are in the water. It's not really danger in the Pantanal, but they can be quite territorial. if you are in the water.
It's just the opposite of what one would guess, really, Helder. Like, when we see a river otter here, it's like, oh, look at the little animal bouncing along the rocks. I watch it from my kayak, and while they can be long in length, they're nowhere near 100 pounds at all. And just looking at the facial structure of these river otters, they look much more predatorial. Now, I'm sure if you're something smaller than the river otters I'm speaking of, they think of them as quite predatorial as well. But these look more aggressive than the river otters that we have here.
Yeah.
I wonder if that leads me to think about the last iconic animal, the star of the show here. What does the star of the show think about this river otter?
Well, they can defend themselves. Yeah, if the group is there close, he will try to fight against this jaguar inside the water, never outside of the water, probably. But they can fight. Yeah.
Wow, that's a different river otter than we have here, my friend. That's for sure. Okay, so let's get to the jaguar, because I have one really big question here, and is that, do you actually see them? Do you do you really get to see jaguars when you go on this trip?
Well, as a naturalist, as a guide, I never promise anything in the wild, of course, but we have high standards and we work hard for to achieve our goals. So just building a trip is hard work, and planning the wild special locations. For example, we cross the Pantanal sky from north to south to pick those locations in a private aircraft. So it's quite nice. And we choose the right size boat, the right safari vehicle. We use our best time on nature, right, on the wild, with very sharp-eyed guides, right. So we try to focus on that. So we building that kind of opportunities. So I brought some pictures to show that, to show how how we can see them. And so that's the first one. I mean, that's my favorite photo. Can you see how elegant this jaguar is? I mean, just walking, relaxed, smoothly at the riverbank, and yet aware of its surroundings. He's looking at us, right? So, but we work hard for that. It's a clear shot, but we work hard. I mean, we would follow this jaguar for 2 hours in interpreting his behavior, this young female behavior, and she would disappear in the forest, and 100 feet after, it would come out on the river again. So we were patient until dusk. So when the perfect light was there, we got some precise boat maneuvers, and then we got the perfect light. You see the shadows and her look, and the leaves hanging, her paw making her step, like going to the kitchen at night to get the last slice of pudding. So I mean, we don't have just good chances to see jaguars. We have chances to experience this kind of encounters and take this kind of pictures. That's
So you said that you will be, with this animal for a while. You're experiencing being with them. That reminds me of maybe bear viewing or whale watching, where you're actually spending some time. Are you listening to them? What do they sound like? Is that how you find them?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, I brought the next picture to talk about that. So here we see a male jaguar, and he's walking at the riverside. Notice the drooling of saliva hanging from both sides of its mouth, right? So this is a typical stress response, but not due to our boat, but because they were 3 jaguars at the same area. Yeah. So even though they never engaged in a battle that day, they measure their social status by hormones, but also by sounds. So jaguars make different sounds, but maybe the most interesting one would be the roar, which we call in Portuguese esturro. So yeah, I would like to actually show you, the roar. So let's play. 1 second here, and let's see. So this is from, sorry, this is from On Safari, that association, sorry.
That's intense. I mean, that's not just like a little sound at all. It sounds very aggressive. Like it's a intense sound.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you witness that, if you see that close enough and with your feet on the ground, I mean, you can feel all over your body, yeah.
I bet.
Just the sound awakens like a
Primal.
primitive
Yeah.
Human instincts for survival. I mean,
Yeah.
it's quite
That is my favorite thing about the trips that we do. When you feel the experience of being in these wild places, being among animals in a way that, yes, it's incredible to learn about them here. I mean, you can even feel it a bit when you're through webinar and a Zoom or whatever kind of, technology we get to use, and thank goodness we have it. But when you're actually, as you said, feet on the ground and you hear an animal, whether it's, a jaguar like this, or for me, it's, the chuff of a bear, or birds, whatever it is, right? Whatever animal it is. And maybe sometimes it's even just the wind through the trees or water moving. There's nothing else like that. And it is something that moves your every cell in your body. It's just incredible. Tell us more about these animals.
Well, let's see the next picture. Well, I mean, I got those pictures with some big lenses, but there's opportunity for small cameras as well. I have to say that picture was taken with a point and shoot camera, so that's good. I love this picture first because the Jaguar in the night scenario was nice, and the light, the shadows, the vegetation make the photo like a painting, bringing almost like a magical feeling, like a ghost coming outside. And I love because it was also made by a point and shoot camera. So yeah, it's an opportunity for people with that equipment. So that experience was possible due to teamwork. I mean, that picture, so that was my first picture ever of a Jaguar, and back in 2006 when I just arrived there. So that time, it was a time that you would see a Jaguar once, maybe twice a year. Yeah, so quite rare. At that time, if you found a Jaguar, you should pay a case of beer to other guys. So yeah, and I mean, we didn't have any money at that time too. So well, anyway, it's a rare time to see Jaguars, and it's just a beautiful picture. And I was with a guide. I was with Vitor, a great friend of mine, a great guide and bird watcher, and he was teaching me a lot of things. So he was driving, and I was in the back with a flashlight, with a torch, and we found this animal far away. But we said to the clients, let's go for it. So it was at night, it was a night drive, and we went to very dense bushes and bumpy road, bumping ground. And meter after meter, we were getting closer and closer, and the clients were thrilled. I mean, they got the excitement, and we are always checking if the animal was calm and still there. So, I mean, after 30 minutes, bam, we arrived there and we got that, and they had the opportunity to get that close. And that picture was just with the truck headlight. It was not with the torch. So, you know, I mean, we try to do that. We try to combine a few things and to give some opportunities for our clients, for our travelers to get this kind of experiences, right? Yeah.
Fantastic. So
And
tell us more.
yeah, let's see the next picture there. Let me put here, which is quite different. Well, this is, well, first, this is not, this is also a point and shoot camera. This is also from a point and shoot camera. This is not the best Jaguar picture, of course, but it's unique because not every day you witness a Jaguar performing Karate Kid movie on a crane stance there, a crane posture. But so it's rare to see that. Well, apparently it's a dominant and submission behavior, where the one on the crane stance is the dominant one, and animal behavior just is what most attract me into wildlife guiding. So we always try to make this, create opportunities to incredible wildlife behavior, right? Natural behavior. So yeah, and well, I don't know, to make how we are on time. Any good? Yeah.
We're good, but we should probably shift to questions. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So to make a closer on a jaguar, I mean, it's a vulnerable species in the Pantanal. In other biomes, is critically endangered or endangered. So it's important that 80% of the jaguar population is in Brazil. It's an estimation, of course, and most in Amazon. And yet 60%, 63% of Pantanal is occupied by jaguars. So not everywhere you go, you will find jaguars. So just a quick information about the jaguars. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So let's look at a couple other images of the Pantanal. And you know what I'm interested in here is this idea of what it's like now. We are looking at trips happening this summer. And for those guests who are watching and might be considering traveling this summer, is it safe for us to come and visit you already this summer? Tell us about what's going on there now.
Yeah, there's of course there's tricky locations, as other countries have. For example, in Brazil, the beaches would be crowded places, but natural areas like wild areas like the Pantanal, it's fine because usually it's private areas and just a few people. And all the lodges we visit follow the procedures, the safety procedures. So we are focused on that too. So I would bring my family. I already brought my family actually, but I would invite you to bring your family here too. Yeah.
Fantastic. And so I love that, the combination of going to a wild place where there's lots of fresh air and being able to obviously not go to the beaches and where, you know, it is more crowded and that kind of thing. And being able to use the protocols that Natural Habitat has in place, which has, you know, we've had trips happening in several places now, and we have been able to utilize those protocols. So that is fantastic news. I think, Kendall, we have a couple more images that we'll look at as we open things up for questions, but I think now I am so excited to see these iconic animals, and I can't wait to go to the Pantanal. So let's go ahead and see if the folks watching have some questions.
Great, yeah, we've got a lot of good questions for you, and I just want to remind everyone who's watching, if you have a question for Annie or Helder today, you can submit those in your control panel under the questions field. Okay, I'm going to start off with some more general Pantanal questions before I get to the wildlife specific questions. There's someone watching who looks like grew up there, left when he was 15, and so this is very exciting for him. And he just wants to know, In terms of conservation in the Pantanal, is the trend positive now, or are there constant land and life preservation efforts going on?
Well, as I said, the most conserved biome of Brazil, but there's some threats. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people work for the conservation of the Pantanal, which is outstanding, especially in the last year. I was really happy, and I think a lot of people are. The people united against the fires and to save the animals as well, and it funded a lot of funds from a lot of people around the world came to the Pantanal to that. So that's one important thing to say. People are getting united, yeah, to conserve nature, right? And but yeah, there's some threats. Like as I said, all the deforestation around the Pantanal and the uplands, this is one of the most important things. And in the other hand, there's a lot of people working to change that. So there's a few projects I can mention later. The institutions, SOS Pantanal and Instituto Homem Pantaneiro, this is in Portuguese. They are working a lot to conserve those areas outside of the Pantanal, to change the whole idea. And but there's more, like pollution as well. But we have to say one of the things that is still holding things are people. People there in the Pantanal are who were born there, for example, know a lot about the natural features of the place. And so the culture there are important. How to respect the environment. So that is really, really important. So people will protect the Pantanal.
Good. By far the most popular question today is people just wanting an update on the fires that happened recently and how they've affected the wildlife in the area.
Yeah, they affected a lot. I didn't see everything. I just saw virtual because I was with a baby, like a few months old. But so I'm not right now in the Pantanal. But all my friends send me photos, and you know, it was a really, really big thing. So yeah, a lot of animals died, but a lot of animals was rescued as well. Around 25, if I'm not mistaken, 25% of the Pantanal was affected by the fire, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a dramatic thing. I mean, a lot of vets, a lot of friends were there doing an incredible job. So, and a lot of institutions were there. They are now getting all together and bringing firefighter groups and permanent firefight groups, because we don't have it. Pantanal should have, for example, Pantanal is 1/4 of the size of Portugal, and Portugal has, I think, 12,000 firefighters. Pantanal doesn't have almost no. There's a few groups, of course, very important groups. They are the department there is amazing, and I saw how hard it worked and how knowledge they have. Amazing. But we have to have more. So people are getting more firefighters groups around Pantanal.
All right. So there's a lot of curiosity about when the wet and dry seasons are in that area, and when is the best time to visit, and what kind of temperatures can people expect when they go on a trip with us? Because I know it's your winter, right, and our summer.
Yeah. Well, I always say to people, if you have the chance, come twice. So this is the best. Dry season first, because you would see a lot of mammals. That's mammals. Yeah. So then you would see a lot of mammals walking around. That's the best time, which happens from June to October, sort of, right? and that's the dry season. And then the wet season, you should come to see the wetlands. It's all about water. So I mean, it's of course flocks of birds everywhere, and a lot of fish, and the pictures also become quite interested because you have the water there. And I mean, it's amazing. And it's not every day raining in the wet season too. So it's perfect doable, right? The only thing would be mosquitoes, a little bit mosquitoes in the wet season. Yeah. But I mean, and the other question was temperature, right? Yeah. So hot, hot. Just the exception of July. July usually is cold. Yeah, and it's not just, I mean, not the just Brazilian cold. A Brazilian talking about cold is, I mean, it can be down to 5 Fahrenheit, 5 Fahrenheit. So it's cold, right? A few nights. So usually whole year hot, and dry season of course is dry, and then wet season it will be hot but quite wet, quite humid.
Okay. I'm going to move on to wildlife questions for the sake of time. And the most popular species is obviously going to be jaguars. So I'm going to start with a few questions about that. So when we're on a trip to the Pantanal, how close can we actually get to the jaguars?
Well, we got very close in a safe way, always in a safe way. Similar to Africa or, I don't know, Yellowstone National Park, you get close to the animals and in a safe way. Here too, and like in a jaguar, for example, we are on a boat or on a safari vehicle. We're never actually looking for jaguars walking. If we find jaguars walking, usually the jaguar will hear or see us before and move on. And if he sees us and we see them, usually he just analyze the area and move on. They don't want to get to us. They don't want. We're not food for them. And but even though we make this kind of distance and safety protection, you know, just make some distance and enjoy. If you have the chance to see a jaguar by foot, you just enjoy. It's pretty safe. The guides will hold the whole thing, and the jaguar will go away. But how close? From a safari vehicle or from a boat? Like 10 feet. That's really close. Can be that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be. But of course, never touch the animal or never let the animal touch the vehicle. Never. You are always checking the natural behavior. If something goes out of the natural, you go out. And there's procedures for that, and there's procedures for even habituate the animal. As Africa that has a lot of procedures for habituation, we do that too.
All right, I'll combine a couple questions next. What are the primary food sources of the jaguar? When is the best season to see the jaguar? And can you tell us a little bit more about their size? Like how much do they weigh? How long are they?
Well, the best season I wouldn't say. We see jaguars all the year round. Our trips are focused on the dry season, and we see them a lot. And so, yeah, we see them a lot. The other question was about the size. I'll go there. So they're quite big, 280 pounds a male. Yeah, a big male. Yeah, 280. If I'm not mistaken, the largest one was over 300 pounds, but I can double check that later. Long, 2.5 meters, so this would be 7 feet long. Yeah, so it's with a tail, of course. Yeah, yeah, it's heavy guy. Usually the jaguars in the Pantanal are like jiu-jitsu fighters. They are really big, different from the jaguars of the Amazon. They're smaller. They go on trees much more. They live there, so it's different. Jaguar in the Pantanal are huge. And there's a third question that I don't remember.
What do they eat? What's their primary food source?
Well, carnivores, of course, just meat, nothing else, but just meat. They can get grass just to control, like a house cat, to control digestion. But depending where they are, they have different sources of food. But for example, most of it would be caimans and capybaras, deer, but also small things like even anteaters, like the small anteater, or agouti, which is a small rodent. But everything on the menu they would get, except humans.
That's good. Okay, moving on. What do capybaras eat?
The opposite. Herbivores, just grass. Actually, the name in the native language, Tupi Guarani, it means grass eater, capybara. Yeah, grass.
Cool. And so storks, do they reuse old nests, or do they always build new ones?
They reuse it. Yeah, it's when you track one, when you find one nest, go there every year. Probably will be the same couple if they didn't have any competition. Yeah, they reuse. It's pretty nice to see the family growing in the, yeah, it's nice.
Okay, and a couple questions about anteaters here. Someone was curious about the coloration of the anteater and the significance of the white or the lighter hair on the legs. And also, people want to know about the disposition of the anteater. Are they pretty laid back?
Well, the colors there are amazing, gray color, and it's a great camouflage. And then there's some white and black in the front there. What most attracts the eyes is probably is the black stripe there, which is outstanding, beautiful, and is useful probably because the baby stays right there. So it's when there's a baby in the back of an eater, it's kind of a camouflage. So for us, of course, we can see, but for a few other animals, it's not clear enough. So he would see just a big animal there. You wouldn't see the baby. So that's it could be a possible tool for the pictures. For that colors. So a camouflage. And the other question you said?
Oh, what's their disposition? Are they pretty laid back?
Disposition, laid back. What do you mean? Like
their attitude, their personality. Are they pretty chill?
Oh, I see. Well, as you see, you can get really close to them. As I said, the hearing is not good. The sense of smell is great. So they are really easygoing. I mean, you can get pretty close, even the small in here there. Also, you got really close. Sometimes you can see them entering the houses, backyard of somebody, and that's it. I mean, there's no really danger at all. They wouldn't attack you. Of course, if you corner it, and then you got some Wolverine going on there, like big claws, and it will be not good. So it's not tame, of course. It's a wild animal, but it wouldn't attack you like just, yeah.
Okay, great. All right, well, I'm going to call it there with questions. Thank you both so much for taking the time to present for us today. We had so many questions, unfortunately, that we did not have time to get to. So I encourage you, everyone who's watching, if you had questions about the trip specifically, give us a call at the number you see on the screen, or you can check out our website and our trip page to get some more information. Okay, guys, I'm going to hand it back over to both of you for closing comments. And let's start with Helder.
Okay, so thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you also who is watching. It's a pleasure. It's a real pleasure to be in the Pantanal, to be a guide. So I would thank you for letting me have this job.
And thank you, Helder, for giving us all of this incredible information and bringing us today to the Pantanal. I cannot wait to go. I'm sure the guests who got to watch this today are also excited. So many of us are just sitting at the edge of our seat waiting for that day when we can travel again. And I am sure that we are all enticed by learning even more about this place. So thank you to all of you who joined us today and tuned in. We really, really are just amazed that so many of you are still tuning in and watching, because we just absolutely love talking about these places, and we get to learn about them again each time that we get to teach you about them. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Kendall. We really appreciate all the support. We know what you put into this, so thank you for that. And thanks again. We'll see you guys next week, and I'm sure there's one tomorrow as well.
There certainly is. Thank you, guys. And my thanks as well to everyone who tuned in today. Be sure to join us tomorrow for our next Daily Dose. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. And with that, I will conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody.